So it's time for chapter 18. Now I've been having a little think, those of you who've been watching my chapters, this is what I'm using as my bookmark at the moment. I wonder if any of you could draw me some pictures of the characters in James and the Giant Peach, maybe either on the computer or by hand, and get your parents to send it in for me and I could print it off on cardboard and I could use it as a bookmark, couldn't I, instead of my little post-it note. So if you could do that for me, that would be wonderful. So we were up to chapter 18, aren't we? Hopefully we'll get back on track with the chapters now. So a minute later, they were out in the open, standing on the very top of the peach near the stem, blinking their eyes in the strong sunlight and peering nervously around. What happened? Where are we? This is impossible. Unbelievable. Terrible. I told you we were bobbing up and down. We're in the middle of the sea, cried James. And indeed, they were. A strong current and a high wind had carried the peach so quickly away from the shore that already the land was out of sight. All around them lay the vast black ocean, deep and hungry. Little waves were bibbling against the sides of the peach. But how did it happen? They cried. Where are the fields? Where are the woods? Where is England? Nobody, not even James, could understand how in the world a thing like this could have come about. Ladies and gentlemen, the old green grasshopper said, trying very hard to keep the fear and disappointment out of his voice, I am afraid that we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. Awkward? Cried the earthworm. My dear old green grasshopper, we're finished. Every one of us is about to perish. I may be blind, you know, but that much I can see quite clearly. Off with my boots, shouted the centipede. I cannot swim with my boots on. I can't swim at all, cried the ladybird. Nor I, wailed the glowworm. Nor I, said Miss Spider. None of us three girls can swim a single stroke. But you won't have to swim, said James calmly. We are floating beautifully, and sooner or later a ship is bound to come along and pick us up. They all stared at him in amazement. Are you quite sure we're not sinking? The ladybird asked. Of course I'm sure, answered James. Come and look for yourselves. They all ran over to the side of the peach and peered down at the water below. Oh, the boy is quite right, the old green grasshopper said. We are floating beautifully. Now we must all sit down and keep perfectly calm. Everything will be all right in the end. What absolute nonsense, cried the earthworm. Nothing is ever all right in the end, and well you know it. Oh, poor earthworm, the ladybird said, whispering in James's ear. He loves to make everything into a disaster. He hates to be happy. He is only happy when he's gloomy. Now isn't that odd? But then, I suppose just being an earthworm is enough to make a person pretty gloomy, don't you think? If this peach is not going to sink, the earthworm was saying, and if we are not going to be drowned, then every one of us is going to starve to death instead. Do you realise that we haven't had a thing to eat since yesterday morning? Oh, by golly, he's right, cried the centipede. For once, earthworm is right. Of course I'm right, the earthworm said, and we're not likely to find anything round here either. We shall get thinner and thinner and thirstier, and we shall all die a slow and grisly death of starvation. I'm dying already. I'm slowly shrivelling up for want of food. Personally, I would rather drown. But good heavens, you must be blind, said James. You know very well I'm blind, snapped the earthworm. There's no need to rub it in. I didn't mean that, said James quickly. I'm sorry, but you can't see. Oh, see? Shouted the earthworm. How can I see if I'm blind? James took a deep breath. Can't you realise, he said patiently, that we have enough food here to last us for weeks and weeks? Where? They said. Where? Why, the peach, of course. Our whole ship is made of food. Jumping jellyfish, they cried. We never thought of that. Oh, my dear James, said the old green grasshopper, laying a front leg affectionately on James's shoulder. I don't know what we'd do without you. You are so clever. Ladies and gentlemen, we are saved again. We are certainly not, said the earthworm. You must be crazy. You can't eat the ship. It's the only thing keeping us up. Oh, we will starve if we don't, said the centipede. And we shall drown if we do, said the earthworm. Oh dear, said the old green grasshopper. Now we're worse off than before. Couldn't we just eat a little bit of it? Asked Miss Spider. I'm so dreadfully hungry. You can eat all you want, James answered. It would take us weeks and weeks to make any sort of dint in this enormous peach. Surely you can see that. Oh, great heavens, he's right again, cried the old green grasshopper, clapping his hands. It would take weeks and weeks, of course it would. But let's not go on making a lot of holes all over the deck. I think we'd better simply scoop it out of the little tunnel over there, the one that we've just come up by. Oh, what an excellent idea, said the ladybird. What are you looking so worried about, Earthworm? The centipede asked. What's the problem? The problem is, the earthworm said, the problem is that there is no problem. Everyone burst out laughing. Cheer up, Earthworm, they said. Come and eat. And they all went over to the tunnel entrance and began scooping out great chunks of juicy golden-coloured peach flesh. Oh, marvellous, said the centipede, stuffing it into his mouth. Delicious, said the old green grasshopper. Just fabulous, said the glowworm. Oh my, said the ladybird primly. What a heavenly taste. She looked up at James and smiled, and James smiled back at her. They sat down on the deck together, both of them chewing away happily. You know, James, the ladybird said, up until this moment I have never in my life tasted anything except those tiny little green flies that live on rose bushes. They have a delightful taste. But this peach is even better. Oh, it's so glorious, Miss Spider said, coming over to join them. Personally, I had always thought that a big, juicy, caught-in-the-web bluebottle was the finest dinner in the world, until I tasted this. What a flavour, the centipede cried. It's terrific. There's nothing like it. I personally have tasted all the finest foods in the world, whereupon the centipede, with his mouth full of peach and with juice running down all over his chin, suddenly burst into song. Everybody was feeling happy now. The sun was shining brightly out of a soft blue sky, and the day was calm. The giant peach, with the sunlight glinting on its side, was like a massive golden ball sailing upon the sea.